Web-based indexing, that's what we're going to talk about today. Web-based indexing is new, relatively new. It's been out for a little bit of time, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it today because I think it's awesome. There's a lot that we can do with web-based indexing. Before, when we did indexing, we would have to go to our indexing program over here and click on that, and it would open up, and we'd have to have that program on our computer to be able to do it. The only places we could do that was on our laptop or our home devices, our PCs, or what we had at home. Now with web-based indexing, we can do indexing almost anywhere. You can do it on your laptop, you can do it on your personal device, you could even do it on your phone. I did it on my phone. I have a 7 Plus, which is a pretty large screen phone, and I was able to do it. It takes a little bit of moving the screen around and that sort of stuff to be able to do it, but if I wanted to, I could do it. You can do it on your Kindle Fire devices. You can just do it about anywhere. So I really like that because it is so convenient that we can do it anywhere. We're waiting in a doctor's office, we're on the train, we're on the bus, we're driving in the car. Our kids could do it. Don't do it while you're driving in the car, obviously. So I wanted to show you how to use that and where it's at. If we go to indexing, well, first you need to make sure you're signed into FamilySearch, but then come to indexing and go right down to that web-based indexing tab. Click on that, and then that's going to take you to the web indexing page. There's a couple of features on here I want to go through. Messages. There are messages that come through every now and then from headquarters, and they could also come in from the indexing director. There's one now that just came in 2 hours ago that says ask for help, share a batch. And I can read that and take that information in. And sometimes it might be really important information about something that they're working on, or it might be, you know, a tip or a hint like that. And it keeps all those messages there for me. Another thing it has is that when you log in, you are automatically put into your stake group and to your ward group. So for me, I'm in the Round Rock, Texas stake. I'm in that group, and I'm in the Liberty Hill ward, and I'm also in that group. It shows the members, how many members have logged into web indexing, that they are now part of this group, and how much we've indexed. And so you can see each of those, and if you click on that, it's going to take you to the page and kind of just give you a general overview of what's happening in your stake, who the members are, and how much they've indexed to this point. And you can click on the quarter, the year, the entire time, past things, that sort of stuff. What's really nice about this is that you can adopt projects. So if you wanted to create a group, you can do that too. You could create a family group. Come over here to find groups and click on create a group. You could create a family group. You could create a youth group for your ward. You could create any sort of group that you wanted to, a Relief Society group, any group that you wanted to, and just kind of say, hey, as a group, we're going to adopt maybe some draft records from Texas, or maybe you're going to adopt school records from Oklahoma, and our goal is to finish these records by the end of summer, say. And so as a group, you can kind of work together, motivate each other, challenge each other, do those sorts of things. I think that's a really fun thing. Oh, sorry, click back into it. It's a fun thing that we have the option to do. And it also has my personal progress here for indexing. If I was an arbitrator, it would have that. And I can show my current status and the month or the year. And over here, I can set a target goal. My target goal is 110 for this month. And if I want to do that, I'm getting a little bit off track. I need to start doing a little bit more this month if I want to hit that goal. And it can also show me what projects that I have worked on and indexed so far. And that way, if you remember that you really liked this record or this type of record, then I can go ahead and look for those a little bit more. And so that brings us to the batches. Now, these are batches that I've already worked on and that I have. They're due. It shows a due date if they need to be done by this date. Otherwise, they get pushed back into the system. So if you grab a batch of records and you don't get to it by the due date, then they're going to put them back into the system. You don't get demerits or anything like that, but they're just saying we want to get these batches done as quickly as possible, so we kind of give you a due date time. And I can manage those if I wanted to say, oh, I'm never going to get to this one. I can manage them and throw them back myself if I wanted to. And then I can find batches. I really like their find feature on this one. I we're indexing. I have favorites that I've already marked, and if I click on those, they're going to show if there's any available. I love the draft records, and I really enjoyed the school records for Oklahoma, so I just went over and starred those. That way, if there's any more available, I can just go to my favorites and automatically find the ones that I've enjoyed doing already and that I know the process for. I am going to show you how to search for all records, though. You can put your level of interest. I like to leave it blank just because I like to see what everything is. Oftentimes, especially obituaries, they're easy to read, but they have a lot more fields to put in. So they're not marked as beginning, even though they're easier to read than some other records that are hand printed. And so the difficulty level doesn't always have to do with the handwriting. Sometimes it has to do with how many fields are in the data entry portion of it. So I like to keep it blank just so I can see everything that's available. But I do like to put United States for me because that's what I'm most comfortable, and English, again, because that's what I'm most comfortable with. If I'm working with somebody who's never indexed before, I like to make sure that I keep the time period that we're working in relatively recent, because that will have the best handwriting that I'm used to. If you go back further and further, you'll notice, and you've seen, I'm sure, if you've done any indexing, that the handwriting becomes a little bit more difficult to read, not because it's sloppily written, but because we're not used to that script. There's different scripts that were popular in different time frames, and so the script or the handwriting that we have now is more familiar to us within the last 100 years. Going beyond that, it reaches into different scripts, and those are sometimes ones that we're not very familiar with at all. So when I'm starting out with somebody, especially teaching them what I'm doing or what indexing is, I like to keep a time frame that's relatively recent, within the last 100 years or so. And I can click search on that, and it's going to give me all the records that are available to be indexed within those parameters. And this down here shows the amount that has been indexed, 13%, and indexing review, that's that arbitration. And I can go through there and see if there's anything that I really enjoy, or maybe something new that's come up that I want to do. And I can pick out a batch that I enjoy. I can download one batch at a time, or I can check out, 4, 5, 6, up to 8 batches at a time. If I really know I really like one, I might take like 4 or 5 if I know I'm going to be able to get to them, if I've got time and I know I really want them, because sometimes they're not going to be there when I get back, especially the further along the set of records are to being complete. I can also just keep my preferences by clicking on this. It'll take me to my FamilySearch page, and it'll have a preference page that I can fill out that'll always have just my preferences on there. So that's how to find a batch. Because I've already got some downloaded, we're going to go through it, and I want to show you how the fields are. They're relatively the same. I'm going to open this batch. This is one that I've already worked on a little bit. And when I open a batch, the first thing it's going to do is it's actually going to take me to the image page, and it's going to identify and ask me to say, should this record be indexed? And you're going to go through all of these images down here and say yes, yes, or no. And the reason you would say no is maybe if it's a blank, or there's nothing on the paper, there's nothing written on the field. And we can look at these field helps to say if they should be indexed or not. I really love these field helps, and they're available on each data portion that we have to open. You can just click on that little question mark if you ever do have a question of, oh, how should I answer this? You can click on that, and it's going to open up a little window and tell you as best as they can whether or not and what to do in this field. Always read the project instructions for each project. Even if you've done indexing records before for draft records, you want to read it again, because sometimes, depending on, this is part M of the Pennsylvania draft, there's different parts throughout, and different parts have different features that they're highlighting or trying to index, and they might have different ways about going about it. So always go through and read through this so that you have a good basis of what you're doing and how they want it to be done. I've already done that. I've looked at my records, I've added on to them. I've actually indexed all of them up to this last one, and I want to go through this last one with you together so we can kind of see how it looks. I can scroll in and out, so I can make the fields as big as I need to. And up here, these are some of the same fields that we've had before on the indexing. If I hover over it, I can see if I want to mark the field blank. This is a field right here. If I wanted to mark it blank, I could click that, or I can just hit Command B or Control B if I'm on my Mac. I can add different things, different records. This is the handwriting help. Sometimes this gives us help with different letters. Again, but this only shows 4 different scripts. And depending on what area you're looking at, they may be helpful and they may not be helpful, because there are plenty of scripts that we've gone through just in America in the last 250 years. So these can be helpful and sometimes they're not. Everybody has their own handwriting. If I'm working with special names or something that have different characters that I have on my keyboard, I can come in here and click onto those and use those. And so these are up here and they let us share a badge, get information. Again, here's the information for the project. I can look on that if I need to. This is the form entry. This is what's come standard now. I could go back to table entry and do it from here to here to here. I can do it in the column entry and in different forms. But I like the form entry. I like what they have as their go-to standard version for this. And so we're going to go through and go ahead and do this for him. His name is, now this is the only one that I've gone through and done that was typed. If I look at the other ones, I can show you. Everything else was handwritten. But for some reason, the last one was typed, which is great for us as we go through that, because we can kind of see what was going on and what we need to do. These are the draft records, and I like them. They're pretty straightforward. They're pretty easy, and they're usually pretty easy to read. So I encourage you, if you're just starting out, to find some draft records, because they're usually pretty good. His name is Carl Welty. His surname, I can see it right there, is Kell, K-E-L-L. Residence or town, it looks like this is his town. Franklin would be the county, and PA is the state. So I'm going to put Shady Grove in the county of Franklin in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, I typed out Pennsylvania, and I did that because even though it is abbreviated here, I did that because I've looked through the instructions and it says if it was abbreviated and you can determine what the abbreviation stands for, type the complete name instead of the abbreviation. Now sometimes the project will say keep it as it is, don't type it out. That's why you want to read those instructions, because they're different for each one. And I've gone through and read that, and I just want to explain that that's why I typed it out. Birth, town, or county. His birth town is Antrim. So we're going to type Antrim. Antrim. Township. We don't need to type township. Birth state or country. Again, it's Pennsylvania. Birth month, April. Now, I can just type the A and it's going to go through all the A months. So I don't have to type all of April out. I just need to type it until I get to that state or to that birth month. The day is the 1st. Birth year, 1923. And all that information is right here on the card. Contact's given name. Contact is the person that they put who will always know your address. And right here, that's John A. Kell. So I'm going to put John A. Kell. Contact's relationship. Now, they don't put a relationship here. Sometimes they will say mother or father or brother or something like that. But on this one, they don't do that. Now, just a little hint for you guys. If you're doing indexing records, sometimes you can tab through a record that there's nothing there. And sometimes they want you to put blank. Anytime there's this little asterisk by it, you need to put a blank if it's not there. And you can see if we come over here, If it's not written or it's a version of unknown, press Control B or Command B for the Mac, and that's just going to mark it as blank. Employer's name, he has none. And again, in this field, if I look at this and it says self-employed or unemployed or other similar information was in the field, type that information in the field. Do not type an address. So they want me to put none. So I am going to write none. Race. I'm going to just move that record over with my mouse, and I'm going to come out a little bit more so I can see everything at one glance with him. They have white as his race. His height is 6'2". Now here again, I don't need to put the foot marking and the inch markings that they have on there, and I know that from reading the project instructions. I just need to put a space between those. 155 is his weight. Complexion is light brown. Again, if I just press the L, it's going to give me light and then light brown. His eyes are brown. His hair is brown. See that? Hair, brown, eyes, brown. Registration month, that's down here towards the bottom. Date of registration. It's going to be June 29th, 1942. Excuse me. So that is everything on that record. There's no reason to make another record. I don't need to make a new record because there's no more records on here. I can see that because these are all the records in the batch and I'm at the last one. So I'm going to click Next for quality check. No issues were found. Would you like to submit your work? Yes, I would like to submit my work. Now this is my favorite part, so get ready to be super excited. I don't know why this makes me so happy, but it does. If I click Submit Batch, look, I get a little confetti. Yay, thank you. I don't know why, but that makes me a happy person. And then it asks me, do I want to find similar batches to this, or do I want to go on to my next batch? They thanked me. They've said, this is awesome. I can find more batches, or I can just close this out and go back to FamilySearch and go to my web indexing page. And now it's gone, and there's my last batch that I have downloaded that I can work on it. And now I'm back up to target where I need to be. So if I keep working at this rate, I'll get to my 110 goal by the end of the month. I've indexed 78 more records to meet my target goal. So I'm getting there with my target. And I hope you guys will make a target resource or a target batch and jump onto the web indexing. It's really great and it's really easy. The only thing I will say about this with this target batch and watching your progress is that currently the web indexing that we do isn't connected to this indexing that we do over here. Those numbers don't match up yet. They're working on a fix for that, but if you do indexing over on your program on your computer, and then you'd come and do indexing over here and you say, how come it doesn't, I know I've indexed more than 32 records, how come it doesn't show that? It's because this is going to show the number of records you've indexed on this program, and this will show the number of records you've indexed on that program. They're all the same records, but right now the two programs aren't talking to each other. And I don't think it'll be long before FamilySearch will have a fix for that and everything will work together. And we'll be able to monitor our progress together on this. So if you're not seeing yourself and you go, oh, I've been indexing, and how come it shows that I don't have any? Because the web indexing currently isn't talking to the desktop indexing. But that will happen soon. Anyways, this is web indexing. If you have any questions at all, give me a holler. You can email me, or you can give me a call or come into the Family History Center. We can talk about indexing. It's really fun, and it's the great way for us to continue making records available for us as we do our family history work. Thanks for watching. Bye.